From engineer to homeless, from arrest to innovation, Leonard's life was a roller coaster of extreme highs and lows. But when he hit rock bottom, handcuffed in front of one of the world's most famous billionaires, something unexpected happened. Instead of turning away, Elon Musk stepped in. What follows is a story of redemption, innovation, and an unlikely partnership that could change the face of urban housing forever. Get ready for a journey that will challenge everything you thought you knew about success, failure, and the power of a single moment to change lives. The bustling streets of Silicon Valley pulsed with possibility, but for Leonard, they now seemed to mock his every step. Just a few years ago, he had been one of the bright stars in the tech world, a promising engineer with a future as vast as the digital frontier he helped shape. Now, he huddled in an alley, his past glories reduced to bitter memories. Leonard's fall from grace had been swift and unexpected. At the height of his career, he had been lauded for his innovative designs, catching the eye of industry leaders. His colleagues admired his sharp mind and easygoing nature, never suspecting the storm that brewed beneath the surface. A phone call changed everything. Leonard's sister had been in a terrible accident, leaving her children without a caregiver. He threw himself into caring for his nieces and nephews, juggling his demanding job with newfound responsibilities. The pressure mounted, and cracks began to show in his once impeccable work. As Leonard's focus wavered, financial troubles crept in. Bills piled up, and his savings dwindled alarmingly fast. His colleagues noticed the dark circles under his eyes and the tremor in his hands as he gulped down coffee. Then came the restructuring. Leonard's position was deemed redundant. He found himself standing in the parking lot, a cardboard box of personal effects in his arms, wondering how he'd gone from rising star to unemployed so quickly. The tech world moved on without him. Leonard's attempts to re-enter the workforce were met with closed doors and unanswered calls. His once impressive resume now worked against him, as potential employers questioned the gap in his employment history. As his funds ran dry, Leonard faced the unthinkable. He could no longer afford his apartment, and with no family nearby, he found himself on the streets. The first night he slept in his car, the cold seeped through the metal, chilling him to the bone. The distant hum of servers from nearby tech campuses was a cruel reminder of the world he'd left behind. Now, as night fell over Silicon Valley, Leonard settled into his usual spot in the alley behind a bustling tech campus. He pulled his tattered jacket tighter, trying to ward off the chill that seemed to seep into his very bones. The morning sun had barely risen when Leonard stirred from his alley bed. The city bustled around him as he gathered his meager possessions. Suddenly, a commotion erupted nearby. "It's Elon Musk!" someone exclaimed. Leonard's heart raced, torn between curiosity and the desire to stay hidden. The gulf between his current state and Musk's world seemed insurmountable. As Leonard tried to slip away, he collided with a pedestrian. Coffee splattered across a businessman's suit, who angrily accused Leonard of intentional mischief. Before he could explain, police officers grabbed him. "You're coming with us!" one barked, handcuffing Leonard despite his protests. The crowd watched in shock as phones recorded the arrest. Suddenly, a hush fell. Elon Musk himself had stepped onto the street, drawn by the commotion. Time seemed to freeze as Leonard's eyes met Musk's. The billionaire's expression shifted from curiosity to concern, his brow furrowing at the scene before him. The weight of countless stares pressed down on them all. As Leonard was led to the police car, Musk stepped forward. "Wait!" he called out, silencing the crowd. The officers paused as Musk approached, his gaze fixed on Leonard. "What's going on here?" he asked, his tone both authoritative and genuinely interested. For the first time in years, Leonard felt truly seen. As Musk listened to his stammered explanation, the city's noise faded away. The tech mogul's expression changed from skepticism to surprise, and finally to determination. This chance encounter was about to set in motion a series of events that would change both their lives forever. The crowd's murmurs faded as Elon Musk's voice cut through the tension. "I'd like to hear more," he said, his eyes fixed on Leonard. The officers exchanged glances, unsure how to proceed. In that moment, the power dynamics of Silicon Valley shifted ever so slightly. Musk's interest in Leonard's story sent ripples through the gathered onlookers. Phones buzzed as social media exploded with speculation. Why would a tech billionaire care about a homeless man's plight? The image of Musk standing beside a handcuffed Leonard became the day's most shared photo, sparking debates across the internet. Back at Tesla headquarters, Musk's team scrambled to contain what they saw as a potential PR disaster. "Sir, we strongly advise against public involvement," his head of communications insisted. But Musk waved away their concerns, his mind already racing with possibilities. As Leonard's story unfolded, layers of complexity emerged. He wasn't just another face on the street. He was a former engineer, a man who had once walked the same halls as many in Silicon Valley's elite. The revelation sent shockwaves through the tech community. How could one of their own end up in such dire straits? Musk's persistence led him to reach out to his vast network. He wanted to know everything. How had Leonard fallen through the cracks? What systems had failed him? And most importantly, how could this situation be prevented in the future? Critics emerged, accusing Musk of using Leonard's misfortune for publicity. But those who knew the tech mogul recognized the familiar glint in his eye, the same look he had when tackling seemingly insurmountable problems in space travel or sustainable energy. The local authorities found themselves in an unexpected spotlight as Musk pushed for a review of Leonard's case. The arrest, initially a blip in the day's events, now stood as a symbol of larger systemic issues. Homelessness, mental health support, and the fragility of the American dream all came under scrutiny. As days passed, Leonard's story touched a nerve in Silicon Valley. Tech workers, often criticized for their role in gentrification and income inequality, began to look at their unhoused neighbors differently. Volunteer rates at local shelters spiked, and discussions about corporate responsibility filled break rooms and online forums. Musk's involvement sparked a wave of innovation. Hackathons sprung up, challenging participants to create solutions for urban poverty. Startups pivoted, seeing potential in addressing social issues. The tech community, often accused of living in a bubble, was waking up to the realities just outside their office windows. But amidst the flurry of activity, one question remained. What did Leonard himself think about all this? As the media clamored for interviews and social media buzzed with hashtags, the man at the center of it all remained largely silent. His voice, for so long ignored, now held the power to shape the narrative. What insights might he offer? What solutions could he propose that others had overlooked? Leonard's silence spoke volumes in the days that followed his encounter with Elon Musk. As the world buzzed around him, he retreated into his thoughts, grappling with the sudden shift in his reality. The weight of expectation pressed down on his shoulders, heavier than any cardboard box he'd carried in recent years. But beneath the weathered exterior, a spark of the brilliant engineer he once was began to flicker to life. It was Musk himself who provided the catalyst for Leonard's reemergence. In a move that surprised many, the tech mogul arranged for Leonard to present his ideas to a select group of Tesla engineers and urban planning experts. The room was tense as Leonard stepped up to the whiteboard, his hands trembling slightly as he uncapped a marker. For a moment, it seemed as though the pressure might overwhelm him. But then, something remarkable happened. As Leonard began to sketch and explain, years of pent-up ideas and observations poured out of him. His voice grew stronger, his gestures more confident. He spoke of modular housing units that could be rapidly deployed in urban centers, powered by integrated solar panels and equipped with water reclamation systems. Leonard's designs weren't just about providing shelter, they were about creating sustainable communities that could grow and adapt to changing needs. The room fell silent as Leonard delved into the intricacies of his concept. He touched on the psychological impact of design, explaining how communal spaces could foster a sense of belonging and purpose among residents. His ideas seamlessly blended cutting-edge technology with a deep understanding of human needs, born from his own experiences on the streets. As Leonard's presentation came to an end, the atmosphere in the room had shifted dramatically. The initial skepticism had given way to a palpable excitement. Musk, who had remained uncharacteristically quiet throughout, finally spoke up. "This," he said, his eyes alight with enthusiasm, "is exactly the kind of innovative thinking we need." The impact of Leonard's ideas rippled outward from that room. Discussions about the intersection of homelessness and sustainable development took on a new urgency. Urban planners and social workers found themselves in conversations with tech innovators and environmental scientists, all inspired by the vision of a man society had once cast aside. For Leonard, the experience was transformative. The act of sharing his ideas, of being heard and valued, rekindled a sense of purpose he thought he'd lost forever. As Musk announced his decision to fund a pilot project based on Leonard's concepts, it became clear that this was more than just a feel-good story. It was the beginning of a movement that could reshape urban landscapes and change countless lives. The bright California sun beat down on the construction site, its rays glinting off the metal frames of Leonard's innovative housing units. What had once been a barren lot on the outskirts of Silicon Valley was now alive with activity. Workers in hard hats scurried about, their voices mingling with the steady thrum of machinery. At the center of it all stood Leonard, his weathered face a mixture of pride and apprehension. The journey from concept to reality had been far from smooth. As news of Musk's investment spread, so did the skepticism. Critics emerged from every corner, questioning the wisdom of entrusting such an ambitious project to a man who had, until recently, been living on the streets. Social media buzzed with debates, some praising the initiative as visionary, others dismissing it as a publicity stunt. Leonard felt the weight of expectations pressing down on him. There were nights when he would wake in a cold sweat, his mind racing with doubts. The comfortable bed in his temporary apartment felt alien after years of sleeping rough. He often found himself longing for the simplicity of his life on the streets, where expectations were low and disappointments few. Musk, too, faced his share of challenges. Shareholders voiced concerns about the project's impact on Tesla's bottom line. Environmental groups scrutinized every aspect of the design, demanding assurances that the units would truly be sustainable. Local authorities, wary of experimental housing in their jurisdictions, threw up roadblocks at every turn. Yet, as the weeks turned into months, something remarkable began to take shape. The first prototype unit rose from the ground, its sleek lines and integrated solar panels a testament to Leonard's vision. As workers put the finishing touches on the interior, a small crowd gathered to watch. Among them was Maria, a local social worker who had been skeptical of the project from the start. "I have to admit," Maria said, her eyes wide as she stepped inside the unit, "this is beyond anything I could have imagined." The space was compact but thoughtfully designed, with multifunctional furniture and clever storage solutions. Natural light flooded in through strategically placed windows, creating an atmosphere of openness and warmth. For Leonard, Maria's words were a balm to his frayed nerves. He watched as she explored the unit, noting how her initial reluctance gave way to genuine enthusiasm. It was a small victory, but one that reignited his determination to see the project through. As word of the prototype spread, the tide of public opinion began to shift. Local news stations ran features on the project, highlighting its potential to address the housing crisis. Tech workers, inspired by Leonard's story, volunteered their time and expertise to help refine the design. Even some of the project's harshest critics begrudgingly admitted that there might be merit to the idea. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across Silicon Valley, a quiet revolution was taking root. The prototype housing unit that had once seemed like a pipe dream now stood as a beacon of hope, drawing curious onlookers from across the city. Among them were urban planners, architects, and social workers, their eyes wide with wonder as they explored the compact yet ingenious living space. Leonard stood at the entrance, his weathered face beaming with pride as he guided visitors through the unit. "See how the solar panels integrate seamlessly with the roof?" he explained, pointing to the sleek design. "And over here, the water reclamation system that cuts usage by 70%. His voice, once tentative, now rang with confidence as he detailed the innovations that made his creation not just a house, but a self-sustaining ecosystem. As word spread, the project caught the attention of city officials from across the country. They arrived in droves, clipboards in hand, eager to see if this unconventional approach could solve their own housing crises. Leonard's design challenged everything they thought they knew about affordable housing. Gone were the stark utilitarian spaces that had become synonymous with low-income residences. In their place stood homes that were not only functional, but beautiful, fostering a sense of dignity and community among residents. But with increased attention came increased scrutiny. Critics emerged, questioning the scalability of the project and the wisdom of entrusting such an ambitious undertaking to a man who had, until recently, been living on the streets. Leonard felt the weight of their doubt, but he refused to let it deter him. Each criticism became a challenge to overcome, each skeptic a potential ally to convert. As the first families prepared to move in, a palpable excitement filled the air. Maria, the social worker who had once doubted the project, now stood beside Leonard, clipboard in hand. "I never thought I'd see the day," she mused, watching as a young mother toured what would soon be her new home. "This isn't just housing, it's a chance at a new life." The success of the pilot project sparked a ripple effect across Silicon Valley. Tech companies, long criticized for their role in the housing crisis, began to take notice. Offers of support and resources poured in, each one a testament to the power of Leonard's vision. What had begun as one man's idea was quickly becoming a movement, challenging the very foundations of urban planning. As night fell over the construction site, Leonard stood alone, gazing at the cluster of homes that had sprung from his imagination. He thought of the countless nights he had spent on these very streets, dreaming of a better future. Now, that future was taking shape before his eyes, promising hope not just for him, but for thousands like him. The streets of Silicon Valley hummed with a new energy, an undercurrent of possibility that seemed to radiate from the cluster of innovative homes that now stood where empty lots once sprawled. Leonard, the man who had sparked this revolution, walked among the buildings, his fingers trailing along the smooth surfaces of the solar panels that adorned each unit. He marveled at how far he had come, from sleeping on these very streets to reshaping them. As word of Leonard's project spread, it caught the attention of city planners and social workers from across the country. They arrived in droves, eager to see if this unconventional approach could solve their own housing crises. What they found challenged everything they thought they knew about affordable housing. Gone were the stark utilitarian spaces that had become synonymous with low-income residences. In their place stood homes that were not only functional, but beautiful, fostering a sense of dignity and community among residents. The impact of Leonard's innovation reached far beyond the physical structures. As families moved into their new homes, something remarkable began to happen. Stress levels dropped, children's school performance improved, and a sense of hope permeated the community. Researchers, intrigued by these unexpected outcomes, began to study the link between architecture and mental health. Their findings sent shockwaves through the urban planning world. Leonard's design wasn't just providing shelter, it was actively improving the well-being of its residents. As Leonard's success grew, so did the scrutiny. Critics questioned the scalability of the project and the wisdom of entrusting such an ambitious undertaking to a man who had, until recently, been living on the streets. But Leonard refused to be deterred. Each criticism became a challenge to overcome, each skeptic a potential ally to convert. His resilience and innovative spirit caught the attention of other tech giants, who began to see the potential in addressing social issues through technology and design. The ripple effect of Leonard's project spread across Silicon Valley and beyond. Tech companies, long criticized for their role in the housing crisis, began implementing programs to prevent employee homelessness and support innovation in sustainable living. Young professionals, inspired by Leonard's journey, turned their attention to social entrepreneurship, seeking ways to use their skills for the greater good. Leonard found himself speaking at global forums, sharing his story and vision for a future where no one would have to experience the despair he once knew. His words carried the weight of lived experience, challenging listeners to reconsider their perceptions of homelessness and human potential. As he stood on stages that he once could only dream of, Leonard's message was clear. True change comes from within communities themselves, powered by compassion, innovation, and the belief that every person deserves a chance to contribute to society. Leonard's journey, from engineer to homeless innovator, serves as a powerful reminder of the untapped potential within every individual. His unlikely partnership with Elon Musk demonstrates the transformative power of seeing beyond appearances and offering second chances. As cities evolve and lives are rebuilt through Leonard's visionary designs, we're left to ponder, how many more hidden geniuses walk among us, waiting for their moment to change the world? The ripples of Leonard's story continue to spread, challenging our perceptions and inspiring action. His tale reminds us that sometimes the most revolutionary ideas come from the most unexpected places. As we look to the future, we must ask ourselves, how can we create a world where every Leonard has the opportunity to rise and contribute their unique gifts to society?